Hey, it's Eric from Love the North. And here's another animal episode with the animal herself, Jill.
Which animal were you referring to?
Well, I don't know.
I just want to make sure I'm a pussycat or what?
Could be your spirit animal.
Yeah, am I the pit bull?
Depends on the day, but
it does, actually. It really does.
So we've been a few weeks in between, and you have something that needs to get out.
Yeah, like, you know what? I was a little frustrated, yesterday, and I'm going to watch this case very closely. Like, I'm going to keep it updated. We're going to keep updating the podcast, and my crew is going to follow right through the court system because I want to see what happens to this guy.
Okay.
So this is so egregious, and we've already watched how the ministry's failed us. The police have failed us, on the case of, Bloor Street there with. And they were the two, I don't know if you remember them, they had starved dogs to death, and they've had multiple animals dying in their care. Right? Mm-hmm. We took in 4 late emergency one night at like 10, 11 p.m. I rushed them into the vet, and they didn't make it. So 2 of them didn't make it. 2 of them made it. Like, starved to death. And there's no reason for it.
How many dogs did they have in total in that
there
dwelling?
Was apparently 5 or 6 in the dwelling. I think she was hiding the one when the ministry showed up. The ministry did confiscate the 5th one. But, we have doctor's reports. We had all the vet reports. You have the pictures, the videos, you got dead bodies, and nothing happened to these girls.
How long did it take for the ministry to get over there?
Well, I think the ministry picked up the one dog maybe a week later.
Maybe?
Yes. And what was disturbing was they came and took videos. They came to see the dogs. We expected charges. No charges were laid. We called the police. The police got involved and said, we're gonna investigate it. We've still had no charges on those girls. Now, just to let you know, they've since split, so now they don't like each other. And so the one girlfriend called in on the other girlfriend and says, guess what? She has 14 cats still in there with no litter box.
Oh.
Right? Apartment number 10, apparently one moved out, So anyway, so that's one case that bothered me because there's been many animals die in that house of horrors.
Cleaning the litter box for one cat is enough, let alone 14.
Can you imagine 14?
I don't know.
She's got no money.
I don't know who the landlord is, but you're going to have a good time.
Well, we thought they're being evicted. We certainly hope so. Anyways, so there's, and that was so egregious. I actually posted that online. I do this a lot of cruelty, neglect, like every day. But when I see something that is so egregious that there needs to be serious charges filed and there isn't, that's very frustrating for somebody like me. Our police force and our court system is our
fabric,
is our moral fiber.
Yeah. And
when they're failing us, there you get the free-for-all, right?
It's like the Wild Wild West.
Absolutely. I'm waiting for the guns to come out. They should be just around the corner, honestly. No, it's not funny because it really was disturbing. And so we'll get to the next case. So then there was Stephen, who, when I got the video of that one, I said to one of my girls, Kim, she said, what do we do? I said, post it. Let's show everybody the action that we see every day. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's not cartoon animated. No, this is real life.
This is real life. And these animals are suffering in real time. And so he only kicked a dog. And I know that sounds terrible. He only kicked the dog, but he only kicked the dog.
Was it his dog?
Yes, it was his puppy. And his neighbor had got it on video because when she called me the first time, I said, until you get it on video, I'm going to tell you nothing's going to happen. Sadly, you can call and call and call, and nobody's going to come. Do you have it on video? And that's hard evidence. Like, you're looking decades ago, we didn't have that opportunity to have that kind of solid evidence, did we? We had, it was a he said, she said, that sort of thing. But now everybody's got a camera on their phone. You're able to actually get footage of it. And so to me, that's pretty solid evidence. You can't beat the videos, right? So that should be enough to convict these people. You have the actual proof because it's always, proof of burden, blah, 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 blah. Well, we got it. So why is nothing done? So we watched we watched Stephen, who was the gentleman on Bruce Street that kicked his dog, and he went through the court system. And one of our people, Pauline, went to all his hearings, and was remanded for this and for that, and the court system's slow as anything. Anyways, he finally got recently probation.
What kind of probation?
Just probation. No restriction on animal use, on animal owning an animal. No restrictions, So now we're getting a little frustrated. We're like, okay, went through that process, and that was a joke. And then last night, I get a call. Well, of course, my phone blows up, right? Anything happens in the city, I start getting the texts and the calls. And inside of 5 minutes, I probably had 7, 8 texts and 3 phone calls. And I'm like, whoa, something's going on. So they send me the video. They said, here, what do we do with this? And I said to Kim, post it. Find out who he is. Because we have 37,000 people in our network on just one page. I said, we're going to find out who he is. Anyways, we did find out who he was. And this guy, what was interesting was last week, I had a lady call my PetSave line. Actually, she called my cell phone directly. And she said, I just saw something downtown. I don't know what to do about it. And I said, well, you can call the police. You can call Provincial Animal Welfare. She goes, it was like a massive kind of looking like a beige dog. And a guy was kicking it in the head. And she goes, I'm really disturbed. Like, I'm very upset over it. And I don't know what to. I said, well, report it. You saw it in action. Call the police. Of course, nothing really materialized. I get it. I drove downtown to see if there was anything I could see. I said, what was the area? That sort of thing. So try and get a video. I said, man, if you ever see anything again in your life, take a video. It really helps. Anyway, so last night somebody did take a video. I don't know where the video comes from, whether it's off a camera in the vestibule over at the building at Lord Street, or whether it was on somebody's phone. But somebody saw him beating and apparently stabbing this dog in the vestibule of the building on Lord Street. So when I saw the video, like, it's so disturbing. Like, a lot of people didn't sleep last night because of what they saw.
What's the vestibule? Is that like the lobby? In
the lobby of the building. It's an apartment building up on Lourdes. And a guy named TJ Bedgood, at least that's what he goes by online. His name is TJ. And he's known to police. He's known around town. And immediately some of our contacts started calling me saying, we know who he is. Here's where he hangs out. Here's the 3 places. He allegedly likes to beat up on people too. So he's pretty nasty little fella, right? So, our crews went to the building to watch for him and when they were in the area. And I checked again 10 p.m. last night and on my way home and there was an officer sitting there in a supervised van. I assume they were waiting for him or the dog or both. Anyways, they put out a news statement. They have confiscated the dog and they have an arrest warrant out for him. So here's what I'm going to do is continue to follow this case, because here's where the problem happens. Our police officers, when they do get to these cases and they do file charges, it falls apart in our court system. And the court system has become quite a joke. And just when you talk to young people and you talk to some of the people we've dealt with who've broken the law, even towards us, they laugh and they say, well, nothing's going to happen anyways. And that's what's really concerning as a community, whether it be animals, humans, or anything else I have our thrift store, our PetSave thrift store, and I watch the amount of crime that happens our store, in our store, theft, busted windows, damage, you name it. And there's never anybody held accountable for it.
Yeah, I know that at some of the retail stores, people just walk in, load up, and they walk out.
That's right.
And someone asks, are you going to do anything about it? No, nothing.
We're told not to do anything by our head offices. And they know that. And they know even if they have the footage, and a lot of these stores have the cameras, and they see it. That's what I say about the video evidence. It doesn't matter anymore. And that's where we're running into, it's getting very scary as a society, because there's people, we're not caring even about our humans, let alone our animals. And these animals like that, if you saw the video, and I don't know if you have yet, but it's so disturbing. And you think of that dog suffering, and this is not his first beating. Right? And I'm sure when I talk to this lady today, I'm sure it's going to be that same dog when I show her the picture that she described a few days ago.
Yeah, you shouldn't even have a dog.
Right?
Or dogs.
So my network has already sent me messages today saying, not sure who has the dog at this point. We know it was taken to a vet clinic last night. And I'm not sure whether the ministry has possession of the dog at this point or not, or who's going to receive possession. And I've told them I've offered up because I really think this dog needs some help. And what's really sad in these cases, a lot of times the abuse is so bad that they deem these dogs dangerous, or because they're reactive because of their prior treatment, they'll euthanize them. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's fair to this dog. Like, I think and I'll tell you, people say, well, where do they get these dogs? These are free off the internet. So when I click open this morning, I've got already messages saying, oh my God, Jill, look at this dog they're handing out for free. Unspayed bullies. And bullies are target animals on the net.
Just because of their appearance?
Are just their breed that all the little young people like, mm-hmm. particularly those who are in bad positions in life, like right now with either addictions, mm-hmm. homelessness. It seems to be a dog of choice.
Dog of protection?
I don't know what they use them for per se. I'm not sure what all the reasonings are for, but it's just, it's very frustrating. It was heartbreaking to watch that dog go through that, and knowing that wasn't the first time. And I presume it's probably the dog that I was called about a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm going to try and connect the dots for the police on that one. But it's what's more, I've already had messages this morning saying, be careful. There's talk around the group here where this person is that they're going to try and get the dog back to give back to him. Can you imagine that dog going back to that owner? Like, where are we in society? When do we start to care? Our compassion and our I guess our protection is melting away. And it's just very frustrating for us. So we're going to follow this one. I said, I think we're at the point where we're almost going to have to start walking the streets like we did with Buddy, 20 years ago when I started. The dog that was shot out in Albin and dragged itself to the road, and a school bus driver picked it up and called me and sent it into Walden. And, we put 1,000 people on the streets of Sudbury there on our walk for Buddy because he died. Dr. Dubé couldn't save him. But anyways, I don't know where we're at that we have to push. How harder do you have to push? Do we as a public have to start protesting? Do we have to start showing up at courthouses? What do we have to organize? Because, the laws, people say, well, we need tougher laws. We don't need tougher laws. We need tweaking of the laws that give, officers and a little more power and the courts to, for example, they can confiscate. And if somebody appeals them taking the animals away, they can actually end up, months and months in boarding kennels and ministries paying those bills till they go to court. Well, those are the tweaks we need to make. Is that absolution, when they confiscate, they lose rights to the dog, period. There's no appeal. There's no anything. Just absolution.
That would make it simple.
It would make it very simple. It would be very cost effective for the ministry.
For us as taxpayers.
And for us as taxpayers, because at the end of the day, you're right, we're all paying the bill. Mm-hmm. So whatever the ministry, right at this point, I feel like ministry might as well go home. You might as well, what do you show up for? Because all these cases that we get, nothing's done. So why even coming to work? Well, how are you helping an animal?
It's not coffee break all day.
I don't know, but I'm not seeing the results. So for the amount of money it's costing us to run these officers in the north, and it's funny because I talked to other people in the province because we're in a network that's throughout the province, and it's interesting. Some communities actually get excellent service
from their police force,
from the police force, and combined with PAWS, which is Provincial Animal Welfare. Mm-hmm. So down in Barrie, there was a case, and I remember. One of my ladies, Kim, sent me the thing. Said, "Oh my God, can you believe it? In 1 hour, they all showed up. Wow." I mean, we don't have that. In Northern Ontario, there are animals suffering and dying everywhere at the hands of people, and nothing's being done.
Is it that we're understaffed? Or
no.
Do they have more
paws? No, we don't have a facility in Northern Ontario, so they're encouraged not to confiscate the animals up here because there's nowhere to put them except put them in a boarding kennel, which costs more money.
Well, what do they have down south that we don't have? Besides population?
Their population, I think they've got a lot of things. They've got facilities to be able to move the animals into where we don't have that here. So what we need is to have, our ministry needs to come north and they need to reevaluate how we do business up here because right now there's very little animal protection going on. And there's very, very little charges being laid and there's the convictions. They're being whittled down from criminal court into provincial offenses of courts, which is basically a slap on the wrist. So what do we need to? We don't need more laws. What we need is proper enforcement of what we already have and tweaking some of the details to make it more efficient and more quick to actually confiscate.
And for it to be uniform.
And to end those rights of the owner who was and bump those cases along quicker so that when they can be determined, because while they're being determined whether they're guilty or not, that's where the holding pattern is for those dogs or cats. They sit in limbo for months while the court works their way through, and we know how slow the court system is.
So the laws are there. The ministry is there. We just need the same enforcement in the north that they have in the south.
Not all areas in the south, because people will tell us in the south and other areas don't get it so well.
Okay.
So it seems like city to city seems different for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. But it's an interesting question, right? Why? Why is Northern Ontario, why do we not have all these people charged? Why do we have animals continuously being beaten and killed and on video and nothing's happening? So it's very frustrating for some. And so this is like a day of bitching, basically. Because I'm upset because I didn't sleep last night. And this is a day in the life of rescue. Our frustration levels with many levels of government, with communities, even, within city communities and city bylaws, when you see 15 or 20 dogs or cats in it, that's against our bylaws. They're not fixed. So get in there and start ticketing these people. Sudbury Housing is full of it, and that's our city runs that. So city housing, boom, we should have more people in there. Right? And you're not targeting people, you're targeting a problem which is prevalent in those areas. Before everybody says to me and sends me hate mail and says she's picking on everybody in Sudbury Housing, look at where the numbers are.
Where does
statistics tell you a story? Numbers tell you a story, right? And they tell me we have a problem in those areas, and we continuously for 25 years have worked in those neighborhoods. And we're not judgmental; we're factual here.
So it's just where there's more cases. They tend to be in.
When you have unspayed, unneutered, it's generally because people in financial brackets are unable to afford. So 2 things we're doing to combat that is, we're doing the spay neuter program, right? Mm-hmm. And again, we're going to post again this week that we've got more spots open now. Let's keep the spaying and neutering going. When you're on lower income, we offer a clinic through East Village Animal Hospital that offers low-cost spay neuter, low-cost medical assessment, end of life assessment, so that proper euthanization, not done at the pound out in Azilda there. You don't want your animal going down like that. Trust me, you don't. So they are not allowed to possess the drugs that a veterinarian is. They are not licensed veterinarians. They're not even licensed to anything other than pound keepers. So, these are not people who should be dealing with your animals medically. They should be in your vet clinics. So we offer that so that those people on the lower income or fixed income, whether you be senior, on ODSP, OW, reach out.
Anywhere where you need assistance. In
the meantime, we're going to keep you, this TJ Bedgood here, we're going to keep an eye on that case because I want to see what happens to this guy over there. That was so the brutality in that attack on that poor dog is beyond words. And he needs to pay for that. And he's known to police. This guy's a repeat offender. So maybe it's time they send him a message. Maybe it's time we lock him up. And if people say, well, addiction's this, and I've already heard it, said, well, because of addictions, he may not be. No, this guy has an anger issue with his addictions, which is a dangerous combination. So, right now there's talk in our community about forcing, incarceration into drug programs. I'm absolutely for it. And, there's going to be the pros and cons, and some, advocacy groups will come out and say, well, it's not effective only in this percentage and for the amount of percentage. Well, if it even gets 10%, because right now that number is climbing faster than we can control it, and it's getting worse in our society everywhere. We're not just the only city. So maybe it's time we drop the number, and if it's even by 10% that you get success on that program, do it. It's still 10% better, because right now the number's going the other way, so far out of control, and we're seeing a lot more of the addictions and the homeless people with animals they can't take care of. They obviously are struggling to take care of themselves.
Everyone needs purpose.
That's right. So you know what? We need to get people shouting, and maybe it's time we hit the streets and hit the court doorstep and say enough of this. Let's get some action on these people. This guy should be banned for life, and he should be charged. He should be thrown in jail.
Well, we'll have to follow this. We'll have to follow this as the time passes, and keep us updated.
Thank you.
All right.